When Bret and Aaron showed up this morning, it was great to meet with them. I decided I wanted to give them a quick tour of the shop. Just remember that if you go to put one of your own hockey sticks on, it's a two-man job.
My name is Bret Terino.
I'm Aaron McLeese.
Aaron and I work together in a collection that I own, and primarily Mopar cars. I've had a love for Mopar ever since I was a young man. One of my favorite cars is sitting behind me right now, which is why we're here.
Hold that thing out, have somebody down here holding it out and watching that distance. See, this one I did with Darren, which I hate saying he did anything right, but in this case, he did hold it out right and allowed me to put this on, where the other one, I was doing it by myself, so I'm going like this, and I'm squeegeeing it, and I'm just not paying attention, and I start encroaching that style line and then coming back down again.
You know, we found, Mark, and it's kind of interesting, and this, again, you know, is a reason that we're so happy to be working with you on these cars, is that you can go buy a lot of these parts today and just getting them on the car, a lot of this new stuff. It's a bear because it really isn't
right
as correct as it should be. Do you see that a lot in these cars when you work on them?
You see it in things. You see it in trim, you see it in ornamentation, you can even see it in sheet metal. You know, 25 years ago, when I started restoring these cars, there was little to nothing available. There were still some things that were new old stock, original Chrysler parts, that were more readily available than they are now. But the aftermarket in the reproduction world was non-existent. With the advent of companies like Auto Metal Direct, it has allowed us to really shine. For a long time, the only door handles you could get for these were the ones Chrysler was selling over the counter, which they said Cuda and Challenger were the same. Well, Cuda and Challenger aren't the same. The Cuda has a convex and the Challenger has a slight concave to it. They both fit the opening, but if you actually look at a lot of the cars, you'll see that on a Challenger, if it's got a Cuda handle, you can run your finger right into the edge of that. Have you guys seen the Daytona?
No, I'd love to see it. As I started to collect these cars and go through my career, I realized there were a lot of parallels. What I did professionally, which was restoring homes, building homes, creating environments, I was just crazy passionate about the detail. I looked at these cars and realized that there was a way of restoring these things correctly. And the joy of owning these cars for me in my life today is having them correct.
Bret actually owns a Charger Daytona. He was telling me it is, I think it's the red with their black stripe, that's a Hemi, numbers matching, and a 4-speed. So it's like, I mean, that's about as rare as it gets on the planet. So he is very well aware of what they need to look like when they're done, and that's why I think he appreciates the Daytona that we're doing at the stage it's at right now. He's not as familiar with the assembly line process and the things that took place, the things that transpired from the time that car left the assembly line as a Charger RT, and then soon, within a few short weeks, became a Daytona Charger.
What's the deal behind this here? This is fascinating, taking a look at this rear window assembly.
Yeah, this is actually really interesting stuff because I had not done an actual Daytona before or a Superbird. I'd owned one, but I wasn't really up to the assembly line conversions that were done back in 1969 by Creative Industries. But I have learned subsequently that, and I knew this part, that all of these Chargers started life as a Charger RT, all the Daytonas, and they were converted into the Daytonas. And so what you see here, this is the original urethane from that original picture window, back window, the classic Dodge Charger with the inset back glass. It's still all there and intact. All they did was kick that window out and put a plug in it and then bonded it off and smoothed it out. But they left all of this original upper deck filler panel and the glass opening in there, and then they just cover that with headliner. It's crazy. But it looks like it would take 2 windows in there, and it actually just takes this one here.
So that's not something you or Darren did?
No, normally, yeah. So now if you come up to get your car, and I've left a bunch of old urethane, and I try to tell you the same story, you might call
okay, all right.
on it. But trust me, that really is the original urethane that welded the glass in back in 1969 when this car was built.
People don't realize just how crudely these cars were put back together in the day. And when you start going back through them,
and you're really trying to emulate the look and the process, it was horrible. I mean, my body and paint is 10 times better than the factory's is, and I get crap from a few guys, but it's guys that couldn't do either one. They couldn't do it good or bad. They're just saying something because they think they know.